So we are pleased to be joined right now by Chad McCullum and Jackie Vick. Now, one great thing they've got at the Global Partners booth here at General Conference is they have missionary cards for all the missionaries, and I have got my two Jim Mint 10, my Chad and my Jackie. I'm hoping to get those autographed.
Make sure you put that in a hard plastic case.
Yeah.
Keep
Do
that.
they
That's
make
going to be
them that
worth
size?
something. Yeah. There aren't very many John Connor rookie cards floating around out there. So
That would, after today, that's
the value went up.
for sure.
Yeah.
So Chad and Jackie, both of you guys are considered mobilizers for Global Partners. Chad, what in the world does that even mean?
Yeah, 3 years ago, I joined Global Partners as Director of Mobilization, and honestly, what that means is that I oversee our process and working with new missionaries and helping them get from here to there, wherever there is. And I have a great team of people who help do that as well. Through my role, I get to work with churches, and Dr. Jackson just challenged the church this morning to say, hey, how do we all get in this together? How do we engage in this together? And so part of that's mobilizing the church. So probably 30 weekends this year, I'll be in a Wesleyan church somewhere here in North America speaking, and that's exciting. I really, really love doing that. And Jackie's actually a mobilizer, but she also wears a hat of Assistant Director of Mobilization. She oversees a number of things, some training pieces for us. And tell them a little bit of your story, Jackie.
Yeah, sure. I started at Global Partners 3.5 years ago now, shortly after I graduated.
Jackie actually hired me.
Yeah, I hired Chad. Best decision I ever made, hire your own boss.
Right.
There you go. I graduated from Indiana Wesleyan and came on the mobilization team. I started as an intern and have been mobilizing ever since. So the main thing that we do, you asked what we do, what mobilization is we change people's addresses. We help them change their addresses. And when I started, that was incredibly overwhelming. Like to think I'm responsible for moving an entire family to a different country.
Wow.
But what was cool about this morning and what was cool about this week is that we saw all these people that we've helped mobilize.
Yeah.
Right.
But I realized that it wasn't me that changed their address, but God did. And we were a part of that process, but He's the one that moved them. And it was really powerful to see them all in one room today.
Yeah.
Jackie, what kind of drew you to want to do this? And Chad, too. I mean, what was stirring in your heart that you wanted to join the Global Partners team?
Yeah.
Yeah, what stirred my heart? I've always been motivated by building relationships cross-culturally. So it didn't start with mobilization for me. It started with the mission. And then from there realized that the gifts and passions that God had given me really fit mobilization well.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about the mission, and this is the part that I get to play in it right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me, I was a pastor in the Wesleyan Church for 17 years and perfectly happy. My resume was not current. Dr. Jackson got elected at the last General Conference, and soon after that, my phone rang, and he invited me to be part of this. And total honesty, I told him no before I told him yes. I said no, and then 3 months later, I said yes. And part of that journey for me as a pastor was what we talked about this morning. I couldn't get my head around 3.5 billion people in the world that had little to no access to the gospel, that billions of people that have never met a Christian, millions that never have met a Christian, 3.5 billion people that don't know what Easter is. We all filled our churches last Easter Sunday. They've never heard of Easter because they don't even know what Easter's about. And I couldn't get past that. I tell people math is what got me into this.
Yeah.
Like math and God. God obviously led me in it, but math, the numbers just didn't make sense to me. And so I always wrestled with, I loved as a pastor being involved around the world. Dr. Jackson was my mentor, and we had traveled a whole bunch of places around the world. But for me, at the end of the day, I realized, like, okay, God, maybe you have uniquely wired me to be in this role for this time, for this purpose. And you know, the vision that we have, it is the very definition of what Jim Collins calls a big, hairy, audacious goal.
Right.
It is something that will call all of us. It calls all of us to deeper levels of trust in God and greater courage and all of that. So for me, it just meant saying yes. And I've always said when God taps me on the shoulder, I've pre-decided I'm going to say yes. And for me, I just ultimately is, yeah, absolutely. So
Now, Global Partners now does so much more than just recruiting missionaries. They've got the Amplify Conference. You guys do missional coaching. And we often talk about local churches investing in Global Partners, but there are a lot of ways that Global Partners is investing in the local church.
Yeah.
Can you guys talk a little bit about some of those things?
And Jackie, I'll let you speak to some of this as well.
Go
But
ahead.
for us, we went through. Obviously, those that would know Global Partners would say, "Hey, the logo changed," and they might remember that back at the gathering when the logo changed and all of that. Quite honestly, it wasn't about changing the logo. We changed our whole mindset as an organization. We went from saying we're a sending agency to saying we really want to be your strategic mission partner.
Mm-hmm.
And when churches say we want to engage globally, we want to be the ones that phone call is made to, that email is sent to. And so we say we're here to serve. If you would have asked me when I came to Global Partners, what does GP do? I would have said, well, they send missionaries.
Right.
After 3 years, I am amazed at what we do.
Yeah.
And it is, the involvement, that whole front row today during the session, all these international leaders, that's part of what we do too, and so there's all these avenues. But anything you want to add to that, Jackie?
I would just agree with what you said, that it's so much more than what I thought too.
Right.
And there's more pieces to the puzzle than what I imagined.
Wow.
Yeah, and at the central point, it's about amplifying the mission of the local church. That is what we're all about. Here and all around the world. We want to see the mission amplified in churches globally.
Yeah.
But we want to see every Wesleyan church in North America saying we are part of this.
Right.
And quite honestly, we'll lay awake at night figuring out a way to do that until that's the case. So.
Right.
It was so exciting to have all of the missionaries here, and you just had the Amplify conference.
Yeah.
How was that? I mean, I don't remember ever a time.
Yeah, it's never happened before.
Everybody, all the missionaries being here.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was overwhelming in one sense, in that we got to see our whole tribe together as a family, with community sharing experiences and stories of transformation. But at the same time, I shared with Dennis that it was, in one sense, a little bit underwhelming, because I was just reminded that we could do so much more.
Yeah.
We were at Houghton College, and we didn't even fill their auditorium.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we looked back and saw all of those empty seats and realized that we can fill them pretty easily.
Yeah.
So it was motivating to try and fill those seats.
One thing that was announced today is that over the next 4 years, we're trying to double the number of missionaries, which is going to require, I got some numbers for you, everybody.
And at the same time, my doctor doubled my anti-anxiety meds for that.
So to double the number of missionaries, we need every Wesleyan church attender, if they gave $21 more per month, or if
No. Back it up. Jackie can give you the numbers.
Oh, give me the numbers, Jackie. I got the wrong numbers here.
It's not per month. It's just that all it takes is each member of the Wesleyan Church giving $21 a year for the next 4 years, increased for the next 4 years, in order to fully fund.
So if every
that's even a better deal than what I was.
It is. We just
so you can pay $80,
and
$84.
We hear all the time. Every time I speak in a church, somebody will say, well, it costs so much, and do you really think the Wesleyan Church can support that?
Yeah.
And here's what I say. I think that most people have $21 in the coin cup in the center console of their car.
Yeah.
And if they said $21 this year, and then we're to say $42 the next year, and then you add that and you say 60, what is that, 60, I'm not a math major, 62 the next, and then however that ends up at $82 every member 4 years from now. One, I think God would be honored with that, but two, that's how you fully fund doubling our tribe. And as a former pastor, I hear that, and 17 years, I had missionaries calling me asking for support. We get that, I get that. And as a former pastor, I look at that and say, well, if every local church did that, imagine what would happen. We're talking about members. We're not even talking about attenders.
Right.
The number would be crazy different with attenders. So, the vision of Amplified Labors are strategic teams all around the globe. Think about like sending a church plant team into a city. My wife and I are part of a church plant, Noblesville, Indiana, Paradox Church. It's coming, or Westfield. The church is in Westfield. We live in Noblesville. Paradox Church is coming to town, Wesleyan Church. And in that case, Pastor Jordan Gardner, his wife Karen, moved to town. They got a whole bunch of friends from South Dakota, from the church they were part of there. They're moving to town with them. We have that kind of a vision that says, what if somebody said,
wow,
here's a city, a strategic city in the world, and 3 or 4 families came with them on that ride.
Wow.
I think that'd be a pretty fun ride.
Yeah, totally.
And I'll tell you right now, if it's the week before General Conference, 4 years from now, whenever General Conference happens, and Jackie and I are 3 short, I'm going to mobilize my family into the game. Jackie's going to mobilize herself into the game, and then problem solved.
We'll be good. Now, Kim, you used to be a missions pastor.
I did.
Talk a little bit. How did you bridge that gap between Global Partners and the local church, mobilizing people but getting them engaged with what Global Partners is doing?
Well, we also had the the yearly mission festival, but there was one part that everyone loved. It's real sophisticated, so you have to listen closely. The International Food Festival.
Hey!
So that's how we hooked people. But seriously, when folks would go on a mission trip or meet a missionary, because they had preconceived ideas of what a missionary would be and what a missionary would say.
Right.
And so actually getting to meet our missionaries, be in relationship, go on a short-term trip, have some food, those were ways that we engaged folks.
Oh, man.
And it's just,
we should have. If we
broadening
were
the
thinking,
ideas.
we would have had an international buffet out here today, and we'd all have pad thai. Or barbecue from South Carolina. I don't know. That's
Boiled peanuts.
boiled peanuts.
That's a cultural meal.
That's a cultural food.
So give everybody at home that's watching this, what's the website they can go to find out about what Global Partners is doing, to support missionaries, and just to engage with what God's doing?
Jackie, you give them one address, and I'm going to give them the blog address. So you give them the Global Partners.
Okay.
There you go. Just the website for Global Partners.
Yeah, Global. Okay.
Jackie and I are having a moment there. Sorry.
It's all right. No.
I've had plenty.
Yeah.
GlobalPartnersOnline.org.
There you go, globalpartnersonline.org. We also have a blog set up, which is www.amplifyingmission.com. The whole purpose of that blog is I felt this as a pastor, is to provide fresh stories and great resources to the local church, specifically the Wesleyan Church. And we put that up kind of quietly, and we kind of sifted it out there, and I talk about it. And I think right now we have over 1,000 subscribers to that. You go there, put your email address in, and it's updated 2 times a week. We're not going to overfill that thing. And it's just a great resource. We put current GP stories, articles, things to read. We're just trying to serve the church.
And that's also where people can sign up for the Amplifier, which is the newsletter of Global Partners, which we get, and it's just a great
Make sure you read the cover story. The cover story this month, I heard the author's amazing.
So we want to thank Chad and Jackie for joining us. It was just an amazing service this morning.
Before you go off the air, I got to say this. What you guys are doing here is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it is. My dad right now in Marion, Indiana, I guarantee is watching this. He told me yesterday. He said, "Look, I wish I could be at General Conference. I really wish I could, but he gets to be here and gets to have the taste of it." And so, what all of you are doing, Matthew T.G. back there turning knobs, and Tony Casey holding court, like what you guys are doing is really cool, and I realize it's a ton of work. So thanks.
Well, we're all honored to be a part of this. So we've been talking to Chad and Jackie from Global Partners, and right now, here's a word about what Global Partners is doing in Haiti.
Yeah, we're standing on the island of Laganov. It has a substantial population of 120,000 people. It didn't have that many when the first missionaries came here, but the missionaries who came then were instantly confronted by a very harsh reality, and that was the people around them were dying from preventable diseases, especially the children. They couldn't stand by. The first clinic here was literally a thatch-covered building under a tree. Through the years, that has evolved into one of the best hospitals, one of the best facilities in the nation. The Village Health Initiative is a very natural outflow of having a hospital.
C'est un programme qui visait pour travailler avec nous sur sanitation, sur évangélisation, nutrition et traitement de l'eau dans le village.
One of the major health hazards, not only on Lagunov and around Haiti, but in many parts of the world, is open defecation. Those pathogens find their way into the water source. To encourage people, to motivate people to have family-type latrines is a very critical response to that particular need.
Chad works here with 54 families. All of them get a Bible and a health book and 2 bags of cement to do their latrine.
2,500 latrines later, it's an incredible success.
2011, cholera started on Lagunov, but people in Fontina already know what it is cholera, what they have to do. They already have a latrine, they wash their hands. Now in Fontina, no one got cholera.
L'impact qui a fait, c'est que nous venons sentir qu'il y a plus de façons pour mener les gens de façon simple. Ce n'est pas seulement physique, non, c'est spirituel. Il y a pile de monde, il y a plus que 3000 personnes dans la dernière année passée qui ont accepté Christ, qui sont rentrés à l'église, qui sont convertis et ont marché avec le Seigneur.
It's our experience in Haiti that when holistic ministries are coupled with the proclamation of the gospel, that proclamation is infinitely more powerful. And that we are seeing lives transformed, families transformed, communities transformed. We believe that through the power of God, using our hands, that we'll see this nation transformed.
Hey, one of the exciting things that's happening here at General Conference is there are all sorts of roundtables and discussions this afternoon. Right now, we're joined by Emily Vermilya. Emily's the formation pastor at College Wesleyan Church in Marion, Indiana. She's also the graduate professor of worship studies at the Robert E. Weber Institute for Worship Studies and also adjunct faculty in the School of Theology and Ministry at Indiana Wesleyan University. Emily, thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So Emily, just talk a little bit about your roundtable today. So for those that would be going and to inform our viewers at home, what might they expect at this?
Sure. We're so excited. Our registration has been wonderful. We're expecting over 100 people this afternoon.
Wow.
And the goal of the session really is to allow worship leaders from across our denomination and senior pastors alike, anyone who has any role in worship of their church, to come and to engage in short conversations. We sort of designed it like a speed dating experience where they have a chance to talk to different worship leaders from around the country who have sort of specializations in different areas. So whether it's recruiting worship volunteers or working with your sound person or incorporating scripture into worship. We have people at each table, and we'll give all of the attendees 15-minute blocks to jump from table to table, come with questions, have discussion, and hopefully people leave with an hour to an hour and a half's worth of great conversation where they've connected with other worship leaders in the denomination, but also feel excited about the possibilities for what can happen in their churches.
Yeah.
Wow, Emily, that sounds so exciting. And I'm just wondering, what do you think will some of the questions be? What are some of the hot trending topics in worship that you think will probably come up at some of the tables this afternoon?
Sure. I honestly think that in the world of worship in the United States right now, we have a lot of people who are trying to catch up with the trends. And I think that becomes defeating after a while because we all come from churches that look very differently.
Yeah.
And so if all you're doing is watching the large mega churches trends, if you're in a church of 100, 200 people, there's no way that you can do those kinds of things. So what I hope people are coming looking for, and what I know that these worship leaders are going to equip people with, are substantive, foundational means by which a congregation can get, a worship leader can get their congregation to really engage in the conversation of worship with God. So I hope that people come away encouraged and looking forward to how they can help their congregation excel in worship.
You and I were talking a little bit before we came on air. I'm 52 years old. I've been in the church for close to 40 years now, and it seems like in evangelicalism, there's been a broadening of worship, and I'll use the word arts. And so talk a little bit about that and maybe the challenges it poses
but also the opportunities as we really broaden this up for the arts.
Yeah, it's sort of a return home. I mean, historically, the church has been so good about engaging God intellectually, physically, emotionally, volitionally. And so the idea here is, how do we help our congregations engage with God in all of these ways, not just one? And our tradition may bend towards historically one way.
Yeah.
So the arts really help us with that. And we're all different. It's just like if each one of us were to sit down and have a conversation one-on-one, it would probably go a little differently than the other ones. And I think with the Lord, it's that same way. And so the arts allow us to engage people where they're at and in their most natural, comfortable language. And I just think the arts are a gift that we have to help make that happen.
Yeah.
One thing I really appreciated about the roundtable you're doing today is that you had leaders like yourself, but you also you have leaders from church plants, you have leaders from mid-sized church. You got just different people. That was something I really appreciated. So for people who are watching this from home, they're obviously not here and can't attend the roundtable. What are some resources that you would suggest online to help them really just lead their local church into a better atmosphere of worship?
Yeah. I mean, so many different ways, and we live in a really exciting time where worship is concerned because the resources are vast and they're growing by the week. I mean, there's more and more. I think the best thing that a worship leader can do, is to be in relationship with other worship leaders and to diversify the community of worship leaders that they're engaged with, which is why we have such a diverse group today. I would certainly suggest, we have, in the Wesleyan denomination, we have a worship collective that Corey Pence has been really pivotal in helping to establish. And it's really just an opportunity for us as pastors in the church to network with one another and to learn from one another. We've gotten together physically on location with one another, but we've also just been able to dialogue through the internet. And that has been an encouragement for so many. Exchange of ideas, hearing what's working in one context and what isn't. And it doesn't mean what works in one will work in another, but it certainly is something, it's food for the imagination, and that's been a real blessing.
Are you aware of any districts where maybe they have groups that get together to do this?
Well, I know that within certain districts, there are networks that are happening. I know in my own Indiana North, Indiana Central District area, we've been trying to collaborate more effectively with one another. But that is something that I hope we see come out of events like today.
Yeah.
This is really pretty new. We got together at the Gathering in 2014. This will kind of be our next, or 2015. When was the Gathering? I feel like I've been living too long.
Yeah.
But the last time we had a Gathering.
Yeah, a year and a half ago.
Yes,
How about that?
Yes, and that was a great experience. And so this is really our second iteration of that on the national level. But I hope what comes out of that is the importance of networking with one another.
Yeah, this is so interesting because I feel like you're talking about the need in worship, but man, this is just a general need in ministry.
Yes.
And we are so much stronger when we get together. And the idea that I've always said that I don't have to know as long as I know someone else who knows.
Yes.
And when we get together, that kind of give and take happens. So it's a good encouragement.
It tears down any stereotypes, too, of competition within the church, which is such a weird thing, but it's a reality that we've lived through for years. And what I love about this collective specifically is there truly is just a spirit of collaboration, and we want one another to succeed. And so that has been just really a great blessing to see happen within our denomination.
Yeah, priceless.
Yeah.
Well, our prayers are with you today as you lead that round table. I'm excited to hear what comes out from that. So there's all sorts of round tables. Some people are even going to Niagara Falls today. There's a lot happening here at General Conference, but we need you to stay tuned right here throughout the day. We're going to be interviewing a lot of great authors and ministry leaders. And then tonight at 6:30, we'll be back with our pre-show before the service. Tonight's service is led by the Church Multiplication and Discipleship team. At 6:30, I'm going to be interviewing some pastors who are leading the rural and small church pastor roundtable that's happening today. I'm excited to talk with those guys. And then after the service tonight, Dr. Jim Dunn will be with us with church planners literally from coast to coast, from Portland to New York City. I'm excited to have those guests on.
Any chance we could get you to go over the Niagara Falls in a barrel today? That'd make for great video in the post show tonight.
And it would end my career as a webcaster very quickly. Hey, if you are curious, if you're watching, you want to know, hey, where can I find out who's going to be on when? Wes.life/schedule is where you can see the full schedule of when we're going to be broadcasting, who we're going to be interviewing. A lot of great interviews today.
Oh, yeah.
With great people like Emily Vermilya. Emily, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For being with us. So for Tony, Kim, and Emily, I'm Heath Mulliken, and we'll see you soon.
Later.